Is there any doubt, anyone?
Okay.
Till whatever topics we have discussed till now. In whatever topics discussed. No doubt then.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then we'll proceed to the next topic. Since you're clear with what an LCR circuit does, a series LCR circuit does, now we'll proceed to the next topic, which is called as resonance of a series LCR circuit. Write down the heading as resonance of a series LCR circuit. You would have heard this word resonance in your 11th standard. Can someone tell me which chapter it came? You would have learned the term resonance for sure.
Oscillation.
In oscillations, yes. So what happens? What is the meaning of this word resonance? You would have heard these words like damp and resonance. What does resonance mean? So you would have done an experiment which is based on sonometer, right? Did you guys do it or not?
Yes.
You would have done an experiment based on sonometer on which you will place a paper like this, and you will have a tuning fork, and the tuning fork, when it is vibrated, you will take it close to the paper. So you take the tuning fork. Will you touch the paper or will you take close to the paper? People do this.
The paper.
So you will close to the paper. So you take. What will happen?
The paper rider will vibrate and data fall down in certain frequency.
So you can observe one thing, right? The paper starts vibrating because the string will be tight enough, right? And the paper starts vibrating along with the string. After a particular amount of vibration is reached, the paper will topple, right? It will fall down, right? So if you ask me what is the principle on which the sonometer works, it works on the principle called as resonance. So what do you mean by resonances? So this tuning fork has a natural frequency associated with it. Okay. The string has a forced frequency associated with it. Right? So here it is natural frequency, forced frequency. If the natural frequency of the fork is matched with the forced frequency, then what will happen is that particular string will start vibrating with maximum amplitude. Okay, this word maximum is very important. Maximum. So when this maximum amplitude stage is achieved, the paper starts toppling. In a similar way, what happens with respect to resonance of a series LCR circuit is, you can observe that the value of current flowing through this device is given as E divided by Z. We saw it in the previous class. So I is equal to, I wrote it somewhere. So can I write I is equal to E divided by Z, where what does Z stand for?
Impedance.
Z is the impedance. So Z is given by the value root of R square plus XL minus XC the whole square. Right. So resonance means what should happen is some parameter should attain a maximum value. In the case of a series LCR circuit, since it belongs to the electrical part, what will happen is a series LCR circuit is said to be under resonance condition when the value of current is maximum. Okay. If you observe, current is a function of what? Current is a function of the reactance, because it is the only parameter you can change during the experiment. You're able to understand. So current is the only parameter you're going to change during the experiment. when this is going to happen, see, when I'm saying current has to be maximum, then what should be the value of Z? Z should be
0.
minimum. It cannot be 0. 0 means infinite current will flow. Then you cannot control it. Okay. Z should be minimum. So if you look at the parameter Z, Z is equal to root of R square plus XL minus XC the whole square. Okay. So R is used for resistance and XL and XC are used for reactances. Okay. I hope it is clear till this step. So when is the value of Z going to be least? That is a question. So for the value, if you observe, inside you have sum of two squares. Sum of two squares can never be equal to 0. Right? A square plus B square is never going to be equal to 0. Because squares is positive numbers. So sum of two positive numbers is never 0. So either A should be 0 for the value to be decreased, or B should be 0 for the value to be decreased. In this case, what is going to happen is the value of XL minus XC will be equal to 0, because if I make R is equal to 0, it will become a purely reactive circuit. For a purely reactive circuit, you cannot define the parameter called as impedance. So for you to define impedance, what you need is you need a resistance. You need some resistance. Okay. So XL minus XC will be equal to 0 for what? For the resonance condition. When this is happening, what is the value of XL? XL is omega L minus XC is 1 by omega C. This will be equal to 0. So if I rearrange the equation, omega square will be equal to 1 divided by L into C, which implies omega will be equal to 1 divided by root of L into C. And this frequency is what is called as resonant frequency. So omega R is equal to 1 by root LC is called as the resonant frequency. Okay. So what is omega R? Omega R can be written as 2 pi into FR, that is equal to 1 by LC under the root, which implies FR will be equal to 1 by 2 pi root LC. So depending on what they ask in the question, you can use either this formula or this one. If they ask you the angular frequency, use 1 by root LC. If they ask you only the frequency, you write as 1 by 2 pi into root LC. Are you guys clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So make a note of it. Make a note of it. Okay. This is again a very, very important concept.
Sir,
Yeah, tell me.
sir, I don't understand why HL minus HC should be equal to 0.
Only this is 0. Only when XL minus XC is 0. That's what I explained to you. A square plus B square cannot be equal to 0. Only either A should be equal to 0 or B should be equal to 0. When will A square plus B square be equal to? When will A square plus B square? Tell me that. When either of the values is minimum. Okay. The least value that A square can take is 0. The least value that B square can take is 0, because it's a perfect square. So if I put R is equal to 0, then you cannot define the parameter called as impedance, because for impedance to be defined, what do you need? You need a resistive element. So I cannot put R is equal to 0. So the only least value that I can think of is XL minus XC is equal to 0. So when you think of it, then XL minus XC equal to 0. That will be the condition for resonance.
Okay.
Okay. See, in fact, this can be shown practically, but I'll try to show you a video in the next class. Okay. So now, let me know once you're done.
So this concept is only applicable to metallic objects, right?
What metallic objects? It has nothing to do with metallic objects. Right? This for series
Resonance.
LCR. No resonance. There I explained it because that resonance condition is for oscillations. So the only context you're going to take from the word resonance is maximum amplitude. Okay. This resonance, what I spoke here is mechanical resonance. It has nuance concept.
Okay, sir.
Here it is purely electrical. Don't get confused between both. Done?
Done, sir.
Okay. Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'll proceed to the next topic, which is called as quality factor or sharpness. So quality factor is also called as Q factor. Okay. So till now, we saw different kinds of devices, right? So what were the devices? We connected an AC source across only a resistor, only across an inductor, only across a capacitor. Then we saw certain combinations. What was it? We saw what is an RL circuit. Then what is an RC circuit? Right. Then we learn all these things. See, these kind of there, no, they have a lot of application in the electronics and the electrical departments. For example, let me explain this concept. Listen to it carefully. I would have explained what an RL circuit is. RL circuit is used in something called as a choke coil. So that's what is actually called as a choke. Yeah. From where was the connection lost?
Choke coil, sir.
Yeah. So this kind of a thing will be there. You, any of your kind of you can still understand what I'm. Similarly, when about an RC circuit, so
Sir, can you explain the choke coil, sir? Sir, the screen was stuck again.
Sir, we can't hear you, sir.
You're not audible.
is it better now? Are you able to
Yes, sir.
hear now?
Yes, sir.
Sir, now also it's breaking for me.
Okay. Others?
It's clear now, sir.
The video is breaking, sir.
Still breaking up? Video breaking in the sense what is happening actually?
Sir,
Sir,
It's
it was
going on and
It's
stuck
freezing
sometimes,
sometimes,
sir.
sir.
okay, now is it better? Now is it steady?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I explained what is a choke and I'm trying to see circuit. You don't have these applications, but again, as I told you, these are all engineering level applications. I'm explaining it because you have to understand. There used to be a chapter called communication.
Sir, can you
The
explain
15th
again
chapter.
choke coil, sir?
Choke coil means I'm saying you have a tube light, right? In old, so nowadays we are using LED lights. So before LED lights, there used to be a frame like this. To this frame, have you heard the word called as a starter? There will be starter, and there will be a small box kind of thing that is present at the back of a tube light to that frame itself.
Yes, sir. I
Yes,
think
sir.
I still have one of
Yes, sir.
those.
And actually, that's what is called as a choke coil. That's nothing but an RL circuit. Okay, that RL circuit is what is called as a choke coil. Similarly, if you take an RC circuit, what happens is this RC is used filter circuits. Okay, you can ask me this, let me high pass filter,
Sir, again
low
your
pass
voice is
filter.
breaking.
Yes, sir. It was breaking, sir.
Now is it-
No, sir. It's not
Okay,
clear.
let me check. Okay. Is it better now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, listen. So, if you take an RC circuits are used. So, you can ask me what these filter circuits are. See, what happens in communications and all is there are two signals mixed. Okay, one is a signal of high frequency and one is a signal of low frequency. They are mixed together, and you pass it through a device which is called as a low pass filter. They use the word as low pass filter, but low pass filter back end what it is an RC circuit. Okay, so when I say it is, when you pass this kind of a combination through a low pass filter, what will happen is it will allow only the low frequency to pass through it and high frequency will be cut off. So that is the meaning of a filter circuit. Okay, these are mainly used in communication systems. In a similar way, these RLC circuits are used as tuner circuit. So the best example for a tuner is your FM. When you're tuning to a particular channel, you can hear only that particular frequency. Right? For example, you go to a 98.3 megahertz channel, you'll be able to hear only that particular channel's frequency. So who is helping at the back end for all these things to happen is a tuner circuit. So all you're learning here is a different combination which is useful in the electrical components. If somebody is choosing electronics and electrical engineering, there you will learn all these things. Okay. So whatever you have learned has some application at some point. So when these things are happening, when I talk about a tuner circuit, the most important parameter associated with it is the sharpness. How sharp the signal is going to be. Okay. And it is also related to the parameter called as quality factor. So now what we are going to see is we are going to discuss the term called as quality factor. So what this quality factor is all about is, wait. So I'll give you a definition, write it down. So this will be the definition. The quality factor of a series resonance circuit. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So write it down. The quality factor is also called as Q factor. The quality factor of a series resonance circuit, write it down. It is defined as the ratio of the resonant frequency is defined as the ratio of the resonant frequency to the difference in two frequencies ratio of resonant frequency to the difference in two frequencies resonant frequency to the difference in two frequencies taken on both sides of the resonant frequency such that at each frequency the amplitude of current becomes 1 by root 2 times the value of the resonant frequency. Sorry, 1 by root 2 times the value at resonant frequency. So is that clear? So I've written the definition, right? So quality factor, what are they saying? Quality factor is equal to ratio of what? Ratio of
Resonant frequency.
Resonant frequency takes
resonant frequency to what?
Difference
So
of
the
the two
Difference in two.
To the difference of two frequencies, and where are they selected? They are selected on either
Both
side
the
of the
sides of the
resonant frequency, such that what will happen at that frequency? The current will become 1 by root 2
amplitude
times
becomes
1
1
by
by
root
root 2 times the resonant frequency.
1 by root 2 times the maximum value. That is the meaning of at resonant frequency. So I can write it as omega 1 minus omega 2 or omega 2 minus 1 omega 1 because I'm only talking about difference. Okay. So when you try to plot a graph which shows the variation, 1 minute, when you plot a graph like this, this is omega, this is I. When you plot a graph like this, that is the variation of current as a function of omega, you can observe the graph goes like this. Okay. And if I drop a perpendicular from here, this is what is the resonant frequency, because what happens at resonant frequency? The current will become
Maximum.
Maximum.
So current is maximum at this point. So this current is I naught. So when they say current at the resonant frequency, they are indirectly telling you the maximum value of the current. Okay. On either side of omega r, you need to choose two particular frequencies, omega 1 and omega 2, such that when you try to observe what is the value of current at that point, it will be I naught divided by root 2. That is the meaning of 1 by root 2 times the amplitude at the resonant frequency. Are you able to understand this? This omega 2 minus omega 1 is written as 2 delta omega, and the technical name given to this is called as the bandwidth. Okay. So quality factor, how do you define it? Tell me the other definition for it. Resonant frequency divided by,
bandwidth.
we call it as bandwidth. Okay. So make a note of it. So it is defined as the resonant frequency divided by bandwidth. Okay. Done. See, when you plot the variation of current amplitude to the frequency in LCR circuit, depending on the value of resistance, the curve gets sharp. That is, the peak value gets sharp, or it is going to be flat. If you use low value of resistance, you observe the peak is more sharp. If you use moderate value, it is slightly flat. High value, it is all very much flat. You have to understand why this is happening is because, see, at resonance condition, what did I tell you? Resonance condition XL is equal to XC. Right? When XL is equal to XC, what will happen to the impedance? Z will be equal to R, accepted.
Yes, sir.
So when I say the impedance is equal to resistance, what exactly is happening is, at resonance condition, at resonance condition, what is happening? A series RLC circuit is behaving like a pure resistive circuit. So in this case, what will happen is the sharpness is dependent on what? So who is going to decide the sharpness of this peak? It is only the resistance, because you're trying to see the variation of current versus this thing, versus the angular frequency. Are you able to understand? So that is the meaning. So whenever they say resonance condition, this point also should be noted, that a series RLC circuit is behaving like a pure resistive circuit, means as if there is only a resistor that is connected across the device. Though inductor and capacitor are there, they are not having any functionalities to oppose the current. That is the meaning. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So this is all about resonance and quality factor. Okay. And there is one more expression, which is a mathematical expression. You can write it down. The derivation part is not there, because there is only, you need to know only the definition of what is a quality factor. You need to know this graph and the final expression for quality factor in terms of R, L, and C. This derivation part they have deleted, not this year, even before that. Okay. So the formula, write it down. Quality factor is equal to 1 divided by R, where R stands for resistance, into root of L divided by C. So 1 by R into root of L divided by C. This is the mathematical formula. Because these are easier parameters for us to calculate. You will know what is the resistance of a device, inductance, and the capacitance of the device. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, can you please graph, sir?
What should I do?
The graph, sir, that previously.
This part?
No, sir, the next graph, like the variations of current in omega.
Oh, you asked for the graph. Sorry, this one. Write it down.
Yes, sir.
Done?
Yes.
Okay. So we have seen what is all these are theory concepts only. We have seen what is resonance, what is quality factor, right? And the last important subtopic that we can discuss is a transformer. Write it down. So write down the heading as what is a transformer. So this is how the question also will be asked. Explain the principle, construction, working, and theory of a transformer. How is the current affected in a transformer? What are the various energy losses that are going to occur in a transformer? And how can they be reduced? Okay. So first, let's look at what a transformer is. So transformer is a very simple device which is used to decrease or increase the input alternating voltage. If you ask me, can a transformer be used for a DC source? No. Because transformer is an electrical device which is used for converting what? Converting an alternating current at low voltage into a high voltage, or the vice versa. You would have seen the transformers outside your house. So what exactly happens is, the EB board will send some voltage at a higher value. Okay. So when that value comes to the transformer, it will step it down and give it to your house of whatever is required. We are actually getting 220 to 240 volt at our home, right? It is actually not 220 or 240 volt that is sent by the station. It will be somewhat more than that. So that more value is actually reduced by a device called as a transformer. So what is the work of a transformer? The work of a transformer is to step down. This is technically called as step down. It is used to step down or step up. When I say step down, it is going to decrease the value of the input voltage. When I say step up, it is going to increase the value of the input voltage. So what is a transformer? Let's read it again. It is an electrical device which is used for converting an alternating current at a low voltage into a high voltage, or the one at high voltage into a low voltage. Okay. If at all the transformer is increasing the input voltage, then it is called as a step-up transformer. And if it is decreasing the voltage, it is called as a step-down transformer. So these transformers which are outside our house are generally step-down transformers only. Okay. Next is, what is the principle on which it is going to work? So a transformer works on the principle of mutual induction. You should not write it as electromagnetic induction. Okay, don't write that. It works only on the principle of mutual induction because it doesn't work on self-induction. Self-induction is also one of the process of EMI. But you need to write only the word mutual induction. Okay, that is when a changing current is passed through one of the two inductively coupled coils, an inductive EMF is set up in the other coil. Let's recollect what does mutual inductance mean. So for a mutual inductance, what will you have? You will have two coils, right? Where the first coil, which is connected to the source, is called as what?
Primary coil.
We call it as a primary coil. Similarly, the one which is connected to the load is called as the
Secondary coil.
secondary coil. So the input voltage is going to come to this device. It will flow through this coil, right? And the flux of this will be linked with this coil. All right, you're able to see it, right? So there will be some magnetic field that is present. There will be some magnetic field that will be present like this. And that magnetic field will create the flux, and that flux will get linked with the secondary coil, due to which you can see some output on the other end. Are you able to understand this?
Yes, sir.
Right. So they have diagrammatically shown what is a step up and a step down transformer. If you look at the difference, they both look similar, but if you concentrate clearly, it is the number of windings that is going to differentiate between the step up and step down transformer, for which we will see the mathematical expressions. 1 minute. Yeah. Now listen. Okay. So two things are over. Now you should have understood what is a transformer and what is the principle on which it is working. Right? It works on the principle of mutual inductance. See, generally, the coils which are connected across each other through the process of mutual induction are said to be mutually coupled. Okay, that's what they mean by two inductively coupled coils. Okay. So when you're doing this mutually, when you're trying to create mutual inductance between two elements, you need to ensure that maximum flux generated by the primary coil is linked to the secondary coil. For which, what you can do is, you will have different types or different ways in which you can connect them. For example, I'll give you different options. Tell me which one is more powerful. Okay. Then, yeah. So I've given you three cases, 1, 2, and 3. Tell me, out of these three cases, in which case do you think the mutual inductance will be maximum?
Third case.
Why third case?
Because distance of separation is less.
Distance of separation is less, and moreover, they are sharing the same axis.
Same.
Coaxial.
So that when that is happening, what will happen is the flux that is generated by the primary coil will get completely linked to the secondary coil. So there is no loss of flux from the primary to the secondary. Am I right? So this is one way. But what will happen is there might be certain fields which are not strong enough, which might get missed. So these are all not so strong. You're able to visualize, right? But whichever is strong will be able to reach. So when you need this kind of a configuration, you need to ensure that the coils are close to each other. Whereas in the second one, what will happen?
Flux is 0.
Flux is 0 because here the magnetic flux will be present, but this will not get linked to the secondary coil because they are perpendicular to each other. whereas in the third coil it is coaxial. So with that idea, what they have come up is they would have thought of how to couple these coils. So what you can do is for the flux generated by the first coil to get completely linked with the second coil, they would have used a laminated iron core. Okay. So if you observe your textbook, they would have drawn it like this. In your textbook, they would have given this diagram, the one which is on the right. That's called as. So you're able to see this, right?
Yes, sir.
This one. This is the one they would have given. So instead of, so this is the third diagram that I showed you. But instead of that, you can use this also. But only thing is, instead of using air medium, what you can do is you can use some magnetic medium so that the flux is not lost. So here the main objective is what? So why I'm explaining all this is, based on this only, you can think how you need to construct. Okay. So if you understand this point, you'll understand why the construction is taking place only in that fashion, not in other fashions. Okay. Now concentrate. So when you're writing about the construction, so what should it, so now you tell me what should a transformer consist of? Because it works on the principle of mutual induction. So mutual induction means what you need? You need two coils, right? So transformer essentially consists of two coils of what? Of insulated copper wire having different number of turns. Why different number of turns? I'll tell you later. Different number of turns, and they are wound on the same soft iron core. Okay, here the iron core is important. Why the word soft is used also I'll explain. As of now, have in your mind that there is an iron core which is used to connect both the coils. Okay. The coil P to which the electrical energy is supplied is called as the primary, and the coil from which the energy is drawn or output is obtained is called as the secondary. So this also so this point also explained. The third point. So to prevent energy losses due to eddy currents, what do we use? Use a laminated core to overcome the loss due to eddy currents, because you are using the ferromagnetic substance there. So in the ferromagnetic substance, what will happen is there will be eddy currents that are getting generated. When eddy currents are getting generated, there will be lot of heat that is getting generated. Okay. So to avoid that, what we are going to do is we are going to laminate the core. Okay, that is the meaning of a laminated core is used. So why it is used is because of this concept. Why is the laminated core used? Because of the high permeability of soft iron. The entire magnetic flux due to the current in the primary coil practically remains in the iron core and hence passes fully to the secondary coil. So this point might be asked. Why is the soft iron core used? It is because of the high permeability of it. The entire flux that is generated by the primary coil will get linked with the secondary coil. So there is no loss of flux ideally. Okay. So what will happen due to this is, this also prevents the stray currents being generated into the conductors lying around and consequent power losses. Means, to put it in simple terms, this will avoid power loss also. Are you guys able to understand? So there are three important points that we have seen. What is that? You need insulated copper wires of how many quantity? Of how much quantity? 2. Where one is used as a primary and the other is used as a secondary. And both these coils are wound around which material? Around a soft iron core. Why is a soft iron core used?
For higher permeability.
Magnetic fields. Magnetic
No flux is lost.
Yes, there is no loss of
power
flux.
loss should be
Okay.
not there.
Permeability. Soft iron core has high permeability. This permeability concept we'll learn it in the 5th chapter. That time you'll understand. Okay. So because of the high permeability of soft iron, the entire magnetic flux due to the current in the primary coil gets completely linked with the secondary coil. That is the meaning. So there is no loss of flux. To put it in very simple terms, if they ask you 1 mark, you should choose for no loss of flux. Okay. And why is it so? It is because of the high permeability. So based on this, there are 2 types of arrangements that can be generally used. So you can use the soft iron core. So the first one, it is the core type. In the core type transformer, the primary and the secondary coils are wound on separate limbs of the core so that the core is largely surrounded by the coils. Many of the modern transformers are closed core type as shown in the figure. So it is like this. Okay, next is a shell type. This is a shell type. In the shell type transformer, the primary and the secondary coils are wound one over the other on the same limb of the iron. Okay. So the coils are very largely surrounded by the iron core. Transformers used in radio, TV transmitters and receivers are shell type. Okay. So generally they will not ask you which type of core is used here. Okay, which type of arrangement is used here? Don't worry about it. It is only for your knowledge. But questions can come from construction. Are you guys clear till this point?
Sir,
Yeah, tell me.
sir, the shell type is the second picture, sir.
There is a shell type.
Okay.
So first A is core type, B is shell type. Right? Are you guys clear with the construction? So I hope 3 points have been completed. What is the transformer? What is the principle? What is the construction? Now we will see what is the working. So working is very simple. You guys know already. So whatever we discuss for mutual induction, we are going to discuss it here. But only difference is we are going to see different mathematical expression in terms of transformer. That's it. So let's see what is the working. So as the alternating current flows through the primary coil, what will happen? You guys tell me even without looking at the notes. You know this already. So when the alternating current is flowing through the primary coil, there will be a change of magnetic field. Due to the change of magnetic field, what will happen? There will be a change of flux. And if that flux gets linked with the secondary coil, what will happen? That's
EMF is induced.
the same story is given here which you can read. Okay. So the theory part is also given here. So let's see what is the theory part. This one. So consider the situation when no load is connected in the secondary. That is, its terminals are open. Okay, that is the situation. Let N1 be the number of turns, and N1 and N2 be the number of turns in the primary and the secondary coil respectively. Then, what will be the EMF induced in the first coil, that is a primary coil, according to Faraday's law? It will be minus N1 into d phi 1 divided by d. This is known fact. What will be the EMF induced in the second coil? Minus N2 into d phi 2 by dt. But what are we theoretically saying? That when you use a soft iron core, the flux that is linked with the first coil is equal to the flux that is linked with the second coil. So from that, can I write d phi 1 divided by dt is equal to d phi 2 divided by dt? Are you guys convinced with this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. So when d phi 1 by dt is equal to d phi 2 by dt, when I apply this concept, then I'm going to divide E1 and E2. When I divide E1 and E2, it will be minus N1 divided by minus N2. And what will get cancelled? d phi 1 by dt and d phi 2 by dt. So it will be cancelled. So E1 divided by E2 is equal to N1 divided by N2. This is the first important formula you're supposed to understand. Okay. So I'm going to write it here. Observe the theory part. E primary divided by E secondary is equal to, what is the formula? In the number of turns in the primary coil divided by the number of turns in the secondary coil. So I told you, right, I'll explain why the number of turns in both are different. If suppose I want to design a transformer in such a way that the transformer is a step-up transformer. So for a step-up transformer, what should happen? Should the output be more?
Increase.
Output should be, so ES should be greater than EP logically. Then if I take EP divided by ES, that should be less than 1, accepted.
Yes,
So EP divided by ES is less than 1, but EP by ES is nothing but NP divided by NS. So NP by NS should be less than 1, implies the number of turns the primary coil should be less than the number of turns in the secondary coil. Does it make sense? So NP is less than NS. Now let's go and revisit. So what did they tell us in this diagram? They told the first is a step-up transformer. So for a step-up transformer, NP is less than NS. Are you able to see that? In the primary coil, what is happening? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 windings are there. Whereas in the secondary, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 windings. So that is why it is a step-up transformer. So similarly, what do you think will happen for a step-down transformer? Just the vice versa is supposed to happen. You can derive it, right? So similarly, if I talk about a step-down transformer, then EP should be greater than ES. So EP by ES should be greater than 1, which implies the number of turns in the primary coil should be greater than the number of turns in the secondary coil. As simple as that. Is it right? So that's what would have happened here. If you want to increase the number of windings in the same area, you need to bring them close. More dense they are, more will be the number of windings. I hope this clear. Right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So see, all these things which I'm telling are used as a formula to solve the problems. So this is one of the formula. So E2 by E1 is equal to N2 by N1. So I can make a note of it. So the same story is given here, whatever I explained. Okay. So make a note of it. So let me know once you're done. Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next important question related to transformer that they will ask is, what are all the assumptions that are taking place in the derivations? Okay. So if you see the word assumptions with respect to transformer, there are 3 assumptions which are associated. First one is the primary resistance and the current are very small. Second, we are assuming that the same flux is linked with both the primary and the secondary coils, and the flux leakage is negligibly small, that is approximated to 0. In reality, what happens is there will definitely be a flux leakage. You cannot link the complete flux generated by primary to secondary. You can bring in some efficiency. Efficiency can be 100%. You can bring it closer to that value. Third, the terminals of the secondary are open, or the current taken from it is very small. So what are the 3 assumptions here? The primary resistance and the current are small. Second, the same flux links both with primary and secondary windings as the flux leakage from the core is negligibly small. And the third point is the terminals of the secondary are open and the current taken from it is very small. Okay, so these are the 3 assumptions which you need to know. This might be a 1-mark question. Next is the currents in the primary and the secondary coil. So when you talk about a current, what will happen is, if you assume the transformer to be an ideal one, then what will happen is, so in an ideal transformer, what will happen? There is no power loss that is taking place. Right? So in an ideal transformer, there is no energy loss that is going to take place. Energy is nothing but the power loss is also not going to be there. So what does instantaneous power stand for? E1 into I1 should be equal to E2 into I2. Are you guys able to understand? So now we are going to see the relation between current and the number of windings. So EMF of the primary source into current in the primary is equal to ES into IS. So EP divided by ES is equal to IS divided by IP. But what is EP by ES? It is NP by NS.
NP by NS.
So this is the relation. This is also an important term.
Sir, for an ideal transformer, NP is equal to NS, no, sir?
No, it will not be. If NP is equal to NS, it is not a transformer at all. Because you cannot have the same number of windings and increase or decrease the voltage. I told you in the previous point, no? If something has to decrease or increase, this one is important. In an ideal transformer, what will happen is the power loss is 0. So wherever you see ideal transformer, power loss is 0. Okay. So when you apply, did you understand this? This is the formula for power. So when the power loss is 0, the input power will be equal to output power. That's what I wrote. Okay. So this is one such important step that you need to keep in your mind. And obviously, the third one is what? The third one is efficiency. So what do you mean by efficiency? Efficiency is output power by input power into 100. But as I told you, see, had it been an ideal transformer, then the output power is equal to input power, then what would have been the efficiency?
100%.
100%, it cannot be. That's what is given. See, the efficiency of a real transformer is fairly high, which is nearly 90 to 99%, though not 100%. You can definitely not achieve 100%. It is purely because there will be some flux leakage, due to which there will be some power loss also taking place. Okay. Are you guys able to understand till this point? So with this, the major part is over. So what did we see? What are all the important points related to a transformer? One is you need to know what is a transformer. Second, you need to know what is the principle on which it is working. And third, you need to know its construction. Fourth, you need to know its working. Fifth, you need to know what are all the assumptions that are taking place in the transformer. Sixth, you need to know the relation between the number of windings and the current. And the seventh one is efficiency. And the last important point that you need to make a note of is what are all the losses that will actually take place in a transformer. So from this point, it will get connected like this. Since a transformer cannot be 100% efficient, there will definitely be certain losses that are taking place. What are all the losses that will take place and how are you going to rectify them is what this topic is on. Okay. So first loss that will take place is copper loss. Why we are taking copper loss? Why we are using the word copper loss is because copper is a metal. So generally when current is flowing through the metals for a longer duration, what will happen to them?
Heat is
Heat
They get
energy.
heated up. According to Joule's law of heating, they get heated up. Due to that heat, what will happen is there will definitely be a loss that is going to take place. Okay. So some energy is lost due to the heating of copper wires, which is used in the primary and the secondary, because we saw primary and secondary windings of copper wires, insulated copper wires too. Okay. Thus, this power loss I square R can be minimized by using what? By using thick copper wires of low resistance. Thick copper. So when you use thick copper wire, we know that resistance is inversely proportional to area. When the area is increased, resistance will decrease. When resistance decreases, I square R will decrease. Means you can try to minimize it. You cannot control it 100%. You can try to minimize it. Are you guys able to understand this point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next is an eddy current loss. So what will happen is when you have certain metals, these, for example, you have iron, right? What happens in an iron core is when there is an alternating current that is going through the iron core, there will be eddy currents that are getting generated. Okay. So the alternating magnetic flux induces eddy currents in the iron core, where this will also lead to some form of loss of energy. In which form? In the form of heat only. So to reduce this, what are we trying to do? We saw this in the construction part itself. To reduce this, we are using a laminated iron. Are you guys able to understand this point? So first loss that will happen is copper loss, and the second is eddy current loss, and the third is called as hysteresis loss. See, hysteresis means lagging. Okay. So hysteresis means lagging. See, I cannot explain this point now. I can explain it after the next chapter. So you just have this point in your mind. Okay. The alternating current carries the iron core through cycles of magnetization and demagnetization. Work is done in these cycles, and this loss in the form of heat, and this heat is called as the hysteresis loss, which can be minimized by using core material having narrow hysteresis. So have this in your mind. Okay. Once I complete the next chapter, I'll definitely explain. You will understand it before the end of next week. Okay. Hysteresis means have it in your mind. It is lagging. That's it. Okay. And the fourth loss, which is an obvious loss, what will happen? I told you, you cannot link 100% flux from one to another. There will definitely be a flux leakage that is going to take place. So the magnetic flux produced by the primary may not fully pass through the secondary. Some of the flux may leak into the air. To overcome this, what are we supposed to do? This losses can be minimized by winding the primary and the secondary coils one over the other. Which that also you people told me already, right? If you lay them coaxially, then you can reduce this loss. and the last is Hamming loss. So as a transformer works, its core lengthens and shortens during each cycle of the alternating voltage due to a phenomenon called as magnetostriction. Okay, this point is again not important, but you can just go through it. Okay, as the transformer works, its core length increases and shortens during each cycle of the alternating voltage due to a phenomenon called as magnetostriction. Okay, this gives rise to a humming sound. So some of the electrical energy is lost in the form of humming sound. Okay, this point is actually not a textbook point. I added extra. May not worry about it. So for exam point of view, it is the first, second, third, and fourth that are important. So how they will ask the question is, what are all the energy losses that are taking place in the transformer and how can they be reduced? For example, they'll ask you a question like this: how do you decrease the eddy current loss? So how do you decrease it? This can be reduced by using a laminated iron core, a 1 mark test. Is that clear? So these are all the points. These are all the important points that are related to a transformer. With this, transformer is spoken. Clear? So if you're clear, I'll move on to the next topic, which is again a very simple topic. That is again a theory part only. There is nothing much for me to teach. Okay, which is called as an LC oscillator. See, if you observe till now, we would have discussed about, as I told you again, resistor, inductor, capacitor across AC. We would have discussed RL, RC across AC and RLC across AC. But we didn't read about an inductor and capacitor alone connected across an AC source. You see, we would have never learned this. It is because this L and C alone combined together has a special property associated with them where it can work like a device called as an oscillator. Okay, it can work as a device called as oscillator. So what does an LC circuit do is, you will have an inductor which is connected across a fully charged capacitor. So capacitor has the property of getting charged and discharged. You know this, right? So capacitor can get charged. Once you connect it across any other device, it will discharge itself. So it will lose all its charge to the other device. So when you connect it like this, okay, when you connect it in this way, what will happen is, the electrostatic energy that is stored in the capacitor will be maximum, because when the capacitor is fully charged and the inductor has nothing around it, inductor cannot be charged obviously. You can only induce the EMF around it, right? So when this is happening, can I say that the current in the circuit is zero? So this is going to be the first step. So a fully charged capacitor, when it is connected across inductor, the whole energy is stored in the form of electrostatic energy. And what is the value of energy that we get stored? It will be half CV square. Right? As slowly the capacitor is getting discharged, for example, here it has 4 electric field lines. When it decreases to 2 electric field lines, what will happen across the inductor? You know this theory. When there is a change of flux that is taking place across an inductor, there is a back EMF that is generated. Right? So there is some magnetic flux linked around it. And there is some current flow also taking place because the charges are flowing from the capacitor to the inductor. So there is a current that is taking place. So there will be one particular instance where UE is equal to UB, means there will be, in this whole system, there will be electrostatic energy present and the magnetic energy also. So the magnetic energy will get present in the form of half Li square. Okay. So after this, what will happen is the capacitor will get completely discharged. When the capacitor is completely discharged, who will store the energy?
Inductor.
Now, the inductor will store the energy in the form of magnetic field. That is, it is going to have UB. So it is stored in the form of half Li square, and the capacitor is completely discharged. Now, what will this fully charge? What will the energy in the inductor try to do? It will again try to charge the capacitor. So a fully charged capacitor got completely discharged in the third step. Again, what will happen is the inductor will try to charge the capacitor. So again, observe here the electric field is like this, whereas the direction of electric field has changed. Are you guys able to understand? So there will be one particular instance where UE and UB are going to be equal. After this, what will happen? The inductor will completely charge the capacitor and it will lose all its energy. So that is this stage. Then the capacitor is completely charged. Okay. So to put it in very simple case, what will happen is when you connect a fully charged capacitor across an inductor, this kind of a cyclic process is going to take place. So what is happening in the cyclic process? The electrostatic energy is converted to the magnetic energy, and the magnetic energy which is stored is again getting converted back to the electrostatic energy, due to which you can generate certain oscillations out of them. Okay. So these oscillations are used in a device called as a modulator, which is again used for communication systems. You have heard about FM, right? What does FM stand for? You listen to FM in your cars. So what does FM stand for?
Frequency modulator.
It is modulation. It's a phenomenon. And see, my voice will have set frequency. It cannot be carried out to longer distances because it will get damped. So if you want my voice to get carried, because somebody is sitting in the radio station, how is that signal actually reaching you? Means what exactly they are doing is they are trying to connect. They try to mix this signal with a high frequency signal. Okay, this is called as a message signal. Message signal means my voice. My voice will get mixed with a high frequency signal, which is called as a carrier signal. Okay, who will produce at high frequency? The high frequency is produced by a device called as an LC oscillator. So at that point, for you to generate the high frequency which is required to be mixed with the message signal, use this device. Okay, I've tried to explain you what is the use of this device, but did you guys understand how it is going to work? So how is it going to work? When you connect a fully charged capacitor across inductor, there will be an alternating variations of energy from electrostatic to the magnetic and magnetic to the electrostatic. Okay, this will happen. So remaining part is completely theory. So this is the undamped oscillation. This is the high frequency signal which happened. So this will be generated from whom? From an LC oscillator, and this is generated through the process of LC oscillations, and the device is called as an LC oscillator. Okay. So there will be some mathematical expressions given in your textbook like this: minus L into di by dt plus q by c. All these things are not needed because these are all differential equations of second degree, which is not there in your syllabus. So only thing you need to know is how will you calculate the amount of frequency that the LC oscillator is going to generate? The formula is again 1 divided by root of L into C. Okay, this is the formula again. So 1 by root of L into C will be the solution of this differential equation. How it has come, you need not worry. You don't even try to make an attempt because it will be tough. Okay, you just whatever the things you need to understand about LC oscillator is how it is working. And if at all they ask you, what will be the frequency that will get generated when I have an inductor and a capacitor of a particular value? So that time you need to use this formula. That's it. Nothing else you need to do. Are you guys clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Right. Anyways, when I share the document, you can actually go through the theory content of it. So with this, alternating currents is over. So in the first volume, there are only 2 chapters that are left out. One is magnetism and the second is electromagnetic waves. A total of maximum 3 to 4 classes are required for completing both the chapters. Okay, they are very small chapters. And taking the deleted portion into consideration, we can definitely complete it in 3 classes, but 1 class I'm taking it as a buffer. 4 classes it will be done. Okay. Is there any doubt from this chapter? Yes or no?
No doubt.
No doubt, right? So because I've covered every subtopic possible. If you read, while you're reading, if you have any doubts, you can let me know. Okay. And the test in this chapter will be held. How many days are later? So what is today? What is the date today? 5th.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So today is Wednesday, right? So we can have 10 days time. Next Sunday you will have. So next Sunday is what date? Can someone tell me?
16, sir.
16th.
Okay. So 16th of August you will have a test. See, going forward, I'm telling in class, I think many of them are missing. Going forward, what I'll do, I'll create it in front of you itself. Just confirm if you're getting an SMS. So this is which test? Is there anyone having a doubt with using the app?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Sir, will it come under the test column or assignment column?
Wait. I wanted to show you. This is why I'm creating it. Next time onwards, see how you'll get. So what I'm doing is, I'm assigning this test to everyone. And what is the nature of the test? So I can assign two types of tests. One is class test and online. Online, I will try to do mostly for MCQs whenever required. Okay. So class test means you're going to write and send me the paper. This test number 5, alternating current. Okay.
Sir.
Now see, what is the date you people told me? 16th, right?
Yes, sir.
16th August. We will have it at 5 p.m. Okay. Check if you
Sir,
people
it
got
was
it.
5
Sir, it was in 5 a.m.
5 a.m. 5 a.m. sir.
Okay, I'll change it. No issue. But my question is, did you people get SMS?
Yes, sir.
Check.
Yes, sir.
You got an SMS, right? See, going
Yeah.
forward, message will get triggered like this. Batch 1 also observe, guys. This test 5. Okay. So batch 1 people, you also got SMS.
Yes,
So
sir.
I hope you're able to understand. This will be the only reminder. I will not keep reminding again and again. There's only SMS that is going to be there. You have to prepare, and the test paper will come to your app on that particular day. Is that clear? I hope it is clear for everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, right? Because I cannot remember and give you multiple reminders. You people work on it. 10 days time is there. Prepare accordingly. If there is any doubt, you can definitely approach me. The only requirement I have is do not copy just because you couldn't study. If you couldn't study, I don't mind you not writing also. Be honest about it. Don't waste your time and my time as well. Okay? So prepare well and do. If there are any doubts, approach me. So with this, I'm ending the session. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. See you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.